Hello and welcome to Mid-American Gardener. It's the show where we get to hear questions from you viewers and respond to them, and it's very right now. So it's kind of fun. We hope that you will pay attention to the expertise of the panelists, and that makes the show very, very good. Well, hi, I'm Diane Noland, and I teach horticulture at the University of Illinois on the Urbana-Champaign campus, and I'm in the crop sciences department. So my areas are cut flowers and perennials and landscaping, but we have three really humorous and talented people here today. So let's find out who's here and listen to their expertise at the same time. So I'm going to pass it on over to you, Chuck Voigt.
I am Chuck Voigt. I'm a principal research specialist in the crop sciences department. My areas of expertise are especially vegetables and herbs, but we can go deeper than that if we need to.
Take it away.
You know, if you happen to miss one of these, you can watch them online. I've been doing that a little bit lately, and I found a couple of things that I would like to comment on. I think it was last week we were talking about root sprouts from cherry trees and whether you could dig those up and start a cherry tree. I think the bulk of clonal cherry trees are going to be grafted or budded onto a different rootstock, not even the same species as tart cherries. So
the answer is no.
Probably not going to work well unless you know for absolute certain that the cherry tree you're getting them from was a rooted cutting that has its own roots, which I don't think happens a lot.
That's true.
The other thing was, we're always getting questions about critters in the garden. This is a product that we were gifted with at Garden Writers a couple of years ago, and I happened to be at Michigan Herb Associates, and one of my fellow garden writers was doing a talk about this, and she had some really spectacular results from this product, and it works on herbivores.
What is this product called?
Oh, it's called Plant Skyd, PlantSkydd. I think it originates in Scandinavia, is why it has that spelling. And it's organic, so it's not really harmful to anything. It has blood meal in it. I think Phil was reading the fine print, and my colleague who was doing this talk had some very spectacular results using it, because she was in I think she was from Michigan and a very wooded area, so just critters abounding. Probably not going to work on meat eaters because blood kind of attracts them as opposed to repelling them. But rabbits, squirrels, even deer, I think to some extent. So
okay, and application again after rain, or
yeah, read the label before you buy it, and
so Plant Skyd.
It sounds like it's fairly persistent.
Good.
As compared to some others where you're out there day after day after day putting it on.
Okay. Well, good. Thank you for following up, because it's sometimes those critters we need to have lots of people's ideas and expertise. All right. Well, I'm going to send it over to you next. Mark Kemp in the middle.
Hello, my name is Mark Kemp. I'm a landscape architect. I can help with trees, shrubs, design, perennials, anything along that line. I have an email here from a Deb Favero who writes, what is the best way to straighten a tree or bush which is leaning? Staking has always appeared to me to be ineffective, although she's never tried it. Should I wait until fall and dig the plants to set them right? Both plants are relatively small, planted 2 years ago. They are planted in an upright position. The ground is heavy and is a difficult spot for most plants. So basically, from the sounds of the small plant, it depends on what the cause is. If the cause is that when planting the soil settled and it moved and shifted, it'll probably right itself. But if it's in an area where the light is uneven, plants will seek out light, and so they will curve and bend to seek out that greater light source for their own survival. So if it's in the wrong location and it may be doing that, you may want to transplant it to a different location, or maybe if there's a larger tree, thin that tree out a little bit. But if it is the soil that caused that, then yes, you can stake it. Staking would allow it to straighten up and firm up if there's not another cause like the light source. So.
Okay. I have had a ginkgo that I don't know how I planted it crooked, but even staking hasn't helped. So hopefully that won't be the case
Right.
for this person. It just looks unique, eclectic. How's that?
Yes.
Use those kind of adjectives. Thank you, Mark. And now let's go to Dr. Phil Nixon.
Hi, I'm Phil Nixon. I'm an extension entomologist in the Department of Crop Sciences at the University of Illinois. Being an entomologist, that means I do bugs. And I have a question from Mary, who says that I have small brownish black worms hang from a silk-like line in my apple trees. They have also seen them in our maple trees. They're eating the leaves in a lace-like pattern. They eat the leaf but not the vein. Maybe an inch long and look like they have legs at each end but not in the middle. What can we do to get rid of them? We are a chemical-free orchard. Don't want to use chemical pesticides. Any help would be appreciated. Well, there are several things that led me to figure out what this was. And these are going to be cankerworms, which are also known as loopers or inchworms, measuring worms, and and they can come in. They're both spring and fall cankerworms. The interesting thing is that refers to when the adult moth comes out. Both species are going to occur in the early spring, and they can be anywhere from green to brown to halfway in between, green with brown markings on them. So when she talked about hanging from a silk line, those of us that in the audience that are of my generation will probably remember that as a child you used to ride down the sidewalk just about the time school got out, and these caterpillars and long strands would hit you in the middle of the face as you went down, and they were hanging out of American elm trees is what they were doing. We don't see that much anymore because the American elm died from Dutch elm disease for the most part, but that was their major host. They do feed on other things such as apples, crab apples, honey locust, hackberries, and maple trees. And the reason she talked about them having legs only on each end is that a typical caterpillar has 3 pairs of true legs and 5 pairs of what we call prolegs, 4 and then 1 at the end. And they do eat by eating out the edges of the leaves. This is a way you can really tell what they do. And in loopers and so on, they have lost some of these prolegs, and this is getting into really heavy stuff, but one of the cankerworms, spring or fall, I can never remember, has only 2 prolegs, and the other one has 2.5. But they miss these, so when they move, it's rather than move along in a regular motion, it's much easier to grab a hold of the front, and then swing the bottom up and grab a hold on the back, and then stretch out and grab a hold and go this way. And so they loop, or they measure, or they inch, and so that's the name of that sort of thing. As far as control, we usually don't have enough cankerworms to worry about it. She can do absolutely nothing, and she's probably not going to have a big problem. Back in the 60s, when there were lots of American elms, they would literally strip villages of those trees, which were probably 80 or 90% of the trees, of every leaf on them. Made it look like winter in June. But now there's so few because their main host is gone. She can get control with Bacillus thuringiensis kerstaki, BTK, so does dipel or thuricide. Also, she can get control with spinosad, which is going to be sold as bullseye or commercially as conserve. Both of these, I believe, are organic accepted insecticides.
Okay.
The BTK is of a bacterial toxin. The spinosad is a fungal toxin. So they're natural occurrence origins.
That was a good discussion about caterpillars.
Well, everybody needs to know their loopers and why
They
do
do. Thank you very much, Dr. Phil. I appreciate that. Well, we're going to go to a Did You Know next about strawberries. Strawberries contain high levels of nitrate. They increase blood and oxygen flow to the muscles. Research suggests that people who load up on strawberries before exercising have greater endurance and burn more calories. Okay, well, let's go to line 1, starting with Marcia, and she has a question about rabbits. Hi, Marcia.
Yes. We have rabbits that are eating all of the flowers, like the gladiolas, the daylilies, anything, mostly things with like long stems or long leaves, and it's driving me crazy.
And you know it's rabbits.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
They're out there. My dog barks at them.
okay.
Yeah, because generally rabbits are not as rough on grass-like plants. I think because they have more silica in their leaves, but they will feed on them some. Rabbits can be repelled by a variety of things. The product that Chuck showed, the Plant Scald, would be a possibility. It's a blood meal type product. Other blood meal products would work. You can use hot sauce, which is something left over after they make Tabasco sauce, and they take off even a hotter portion, and that will work very well. You do have to replace it after each rain. And even talcum powder will work fairly well, keeping rabbits from feeding on things. In general, of the various critters that feed on things in your garden, rabbits are kind of the more skittish, wimpy types that are fairly easily kept away, better than some other things like squirrels and woodchucks and things like that. They're a little bit harder nut to crack, so to speak.
Okay. All right. So hope you have a good time taking care of that, because rabbits are kind of fun. Not really fun. Okay, let's go to line 2, and we have a question about mulch with Bob. Hi there, Bob.
I was wondering, you're always talking about putting mulch down around tomatoes and all your garden plots. Mm-hmm. What do you consider a good mulch, like straw or wood chips or whatever?
Okay, take it away, Chuck.
Probably not wood chips. They're carbon. Well, I just wouldn't use wood chips. Straw works okay. It also has a high carbon nitrogen ratio, so you would want to fertilize with something fairly high in nitrogen before you put the mulch down. Also with tomatoes, because they're a warm weather crop, you want to get the tomatoes planted and growing and the soil warmed up before you mulch, because if you plant them in cold soil and mulch it immediately, you seal in that coldness and you're going to slow down the tomato growth. Some other, you could probably use spoiled hay if you could find it. Hay generally has more weed seeds and things in it that might be an issue down the road. But anything that you get that isn't wood based would probably be better than something that is.
And commercially, do they use plastics?
Oh yeah, we use black plastic film mulches that work quite well. They also capture heat and additionally speed early growth. They don't break down and enrich the soil like an organic mulch would, but certainly those will work. You can also get colored ones, and there's been various experiments about if a red plastic mulch is different than a green plastic mulch, or a reflective shiny one that's like
and
tinfoil.
The results are
inconclusive in my mind,
yeah.
but if you do some research, you might find one that appeals to you.
However, I do use organic mulch. Do you know why? Because I have it. I mean, I have access to it.
Yeah, you tend to live with a tree guy.
Yeah, so that, you use what you have, but
and the key there is picking a non-wood product that's not going to decompose while it's in your garden. So something that's already decomposed and aged will do
almost
less harm.
compost.
Yeah.
Ooh, compost would be great, but there's never enough. So, but anyway, that was a good primer on mulch. Thank you for that question, Bob. Now we have an apple question, and let's go to line 3 with Betty. Hi there.
Hi, I have two apple trees, and they are losing the bark around the tree trunk. In fact, my Fuji has lost all of its bark, and the leaves, of course, are dying and everything. The Gala has some apples on it, but they're not working. They're not growing. They're starting to shrivel up. Now, I understand that I'm losing those two trees. can I plant apple trees in the same place?
I mean, the key is to find out what caused it. It could be mechanical injury, it could be environmental like lightning, but then most likely it's probably an insect, a borer of some sort. So if you peel back that bark, you're probably going to see trails or some evidence that it was insect related. That could have been even after the fact too, but kind of do a little investigative work and see what may have caused that bark to start to loosen up from the tree. But obviously that's what the cause is of the rest of the dying of the tree.
There's some canker diseases that can
it's
affect,
more likely.
that can affect trunks and larger branches, and if those are to the point where they girdle whatever the stem is, it'll die from there on out. Given the last couple of winters we've had, it could also be a bit of cold injury, because we had pretty soft plants for about 20 years, and then we actually had Midwestern winters again for 2 years in a row. So, and I don't know what the hardiness is of those, but there's a whole range of things that it could be. If it's a mechanical or injury,
cold.
probably, or cold injury, then putting another one in there is not a problem. If it's a canker disease, then maybe it would be, or what you were talking about.
Yeah, one thing that you need to realize is that if you have a dwarf or semi-dwarf apple tree, they are not real long trees, and so it may be just getting to the edge of its end of its lifespan. I think for a dwarf, you're looking at somewhere around mid-teens in lifespan. Semi-dwarf probably mid to late 20s, much shorter than a standard apple tree. And so they're maybe just getting to the end of their lifespan. Then you'll get cankers in. Cankers will tend to cause problems there, and then the borers will come in after that, after the tree's pretty well gone. As a general rule of thumb, it's generally not recommended, if you have the option, to not put a plant of the same type into the same place where a previous plant was, because there's always the possibility of some soil-borne diseases associated with that. So if you have the space, you're better off planting that plant somewhere else, or at least offsetting it from the original hole to avoid the rotting of roots left behind and so on, that will also can cause problems to the root system of the new tree. So generally you don't put one back in the same hole unless it's died very quickly from winter injury or something, like 2 years after you put it in or something like that. If it's been there for a while, generally it's a good idea not to put it back in the same soil.
I think also too, the reinvestment cost is not going to be prohibitive to go ahead and replace those if you didn't have another space, because if you don't have another space, then it's not going to necessarily matter. So it's not like trying another set of varieties is going to be that costly. So
Okay, and make sure that the pollination works out for the varieties. And I can't tell you what they are. You'll have to do your research on that. All right, let's go to Betty's question on line 4 about begonias. Hi there, Betty.
Good evening. I have a large red begonia that I raised. It's probably about 8 years old.
Wow.
This winter, it bloomed for about 3 months, and then a whole new growth started coming into the middle of it, and all the big old leaves began dying off. Now, those, I don't know what you call them. I call them arms that come out. Is that a root system? Can I cut that off without damaging the plant?
So something new has started. I get
Well,
that.
the old stems are what are creeping around there, and then it sounds like it's renewing itself.
Yes, it does.
So I think it's giving you the signal that yes, it's okay to get rid of some of this other stuff and let the new juvenile foliage come up and take over.
So to use her words, she can remove some of the arms. I mean,
Right, they're not roots, but stems, but
Stems.
still you can get rid of them and kind of get it consolidated back, and then have nice fresh new growth with those bright colors that we associate with Rex begonia leaves.
And they're
And
great.
this is a great opportunity to repot and put it into new soil that will not be limited in some of the micronutrients.
So that sounds like it's telling you what to do. So that's a really good, do-it-yourself plant right there. Well, let's go to some of our panelists, and we'll have another email or two. So let's start with you, Chuck.
Yeah, when I saw this one, it's a perfect time to ask this question.
Excellent.
When is a good time to start Brussels sprout seeds indoors for harvesting in the fall?
Oh,
And they enjoy your show.
you did not ask that question,
I did not,
you?
and
Okay.
I did not make it up. We're moving right into that. Early to mid-June is when you should start the seeds for Brussels sprouts. Transplant them into the garden in July. They may take a little extra watering and stuff to make them survive at that point, but that's the time to do it. Then in August into September, we're starting to get a little bit cooler. The days are starting to get a little bit shorter. The Brussels sprouts and all cabbage family things, in fact, just thrive in that environment. But Brussels sprouts, particularly, if they mature and you eat them in October from a sowing in June, they have minimal bitterness and nastiness that if you buy them when they show up in the garden center in March and put them in the garden, first of all, you're going to have to keep all the cabbage worms off of them for months and months. And second of all, they're going to try to make sprouts in the heat of summer, and those could be some of the nastiest things that you've ever tried to eat.
And Brussels sprouts are so good when they're grown at the right time. So very good. Thank you for that answer. And Mark, on to you.
Okay. I have an email here from Kenneth from Chicago Ridge. Our village planted a red maple tree in October of 1996. There has been no helicopters or fruit or seed growing on this tree, but there is one branch offshoot that has a small cluster of helicopters, as he calls them, on it. Could we tell if this is going to happen in the future, and why did they appear? If it's truly a red maple, Acer rubrum, without knowing the cultivar, there are some seedless varieties, and most of them should stay seedless, but there's a few that may, they're like a cross between a silver and a red, and they haven't completely been seedless over time. It could have been young enough in the beginning that it did not put its efforts into seed production, and you just didn't see them early on, and now but I would say that if you are starting to see them now, then you'll probably see them in the future. Also, there are heavier years for seed production and lighter years. It doesn't seem the case on this one, but they will skip years in terms of like the massive amount of seed production that they will do. But unfortunately, I think you're probably going to see them in the future.
It's very fortunate they didn't have those for that long as it is.
Yeah, that does seem like a long time, but without knowing what cultivar it was.
So just be glad they escaped it for a little while. Okay.
I guess another note too, if the flowers are trimmed off in a sense, so if it was cut back for some strange reason, you could have eliminated that phase of the plant. At a younger size, maybe that did occur, but given a shade tree, that's not something that can happen for a long period of time. So.
Okay, thank you. And now Phil.
Robert McKim of Muhammad writes, can you advise your viewers about whether there is a reliable local source that will guarantee their plants, both vegetables and flowers, have not been treated with neonicotinoids or other insecticides that are harming bees? Neonicotinoid insecticides are commonly used, and they have been related to some problems associated with colony collapse disorder, but there have also been other studies which don't show any association with it. There are currently doing some research associated with that. There's research currently being done in Michigan, Minnesota, Kentucky, and Ohio on that very question as to whether neonicotinoid insecticides, systemic insecticides move up through the plant are a factor. Do they still have enough in there when they bloom to be a problem associated with bees and other pollinators or not? There has been, just in the latter part of May, a report put out, 70-page report by Friends of the Earth, which you can get at their website, which points out that with some other studies that were done, that roughly roughly a third of the garden centers are not selling plants with neonicotinoids. Another third of them are trying to avoid them. So 2/3 of the bedding plants probably you're going to run across have not been treated with neonicotinoids or recently enough to be a problem associated with that. The bee problem is a factor associated with varroa mite, diseases, lack of habitat, as well as pesticides. And so important thing to realize about this whole issue is that France quit using neonicotinoids in 1999. They still have colony collapse disorder. And Australia does not have varroa mites. They use nicotinoids, and they have no colony collapse disorder. So it's not an easy black and white question.
It's very intricate. Wow, very well done. That helps us understand, and it's not one thing.
That's right.
But a good question. We thank our viewers for all their questions. I want to thank you three for being here, and for all of you watching. We hope that you have a great week gardening. See you next time. Goodbye.